Our next session, risk that entrepreneur takes while scaling up. Growth forces you you need to take and that at times make you not sound sensible. For this session, we have Mr. Rahul Chaudhary, Managing Director and CEO of Kyolesha Software Private Limited, in a chat with Tabish Bibikar, Director and Principal Coach at Expanders Business Coaching Private Limited. The two will discuss the significance of scaling up a business, how long it takes and how lonely it gets, and the kind of risk it compels an entrepreneur to take that may not seem sensible to anyone else. Having built two successful companies already and launching yet another startup that's currently blazing the runway, Rahul sits at the intersection of both technology projects and service companies. They will deep dive into the journey of acquiring $1 million client accounts, servicing clients globally, and the mindset euphoria around hiring talent. All this and it can all the toll it can take on the mind, body, and soul, and how you as an entrepreneur can just survive, you can just not survive but thrive through all this. Over to you, Tabish.
So thank you, Satyam. I can see a large number of people here who have joined us, and uh, even after lunch, everybody's jumped back right back in, which is very, very motivating. And it's funny that entrepreneurship is so much like the current situation that we are in. It's mostly uncertain. Every single entrepreneur faces risks. Either it's a financial risk that you carry, or a risk with competition, risks associated with hiring, or risks associated with vendors, and so on and so forth. But you know what? Like Steve Jobs says, I'm convinced that about half of what separates successful entrepreneurs from the non-successful ones is pure perseverance. So before I introduce our speaker for today, who has graciously accepted to come over and share his entrepreneurial journey with us, I'd just like to do a quick show of hands. And can I request all of the audience to please click on the hand button, just lower it if it's already up for you. And I'm going to ask you a question, and if you can just raise your hand if it's applicable to you. So I'd like to ask the audience a show of hands if you've ever experienced your business hitting a complete rock bottom ever, complete rock bottom, as in you were almost, kind of bankrupt. Have you ever been in this situation? So there's this little hand button. If you can just, click on that one. Yeah. Okay. So we do have a number of them. And okay, you can, click back on it and lower your hand. Now the next question, for all of those who had raised their hands earlier, I'd like to ask you, of these, how many of you have now, completely bounced back and are flourishing? Can you, show me a, show of hands on how many of you are now completely back on track and doing well? Let me see how many. Okay. So the pandemic situation right now, I'm sure, is also adding to the difficult times, and I don't see as many hands as I saw earlier now. So it looks like people are still stuck in a bit of a situation. Okay. Now everybody again raise your hands down. I mean, sorry, lower your hands, and I'm going to ask another question. Of all of those few people who've been able to bounce back, is there anybody at all who's actually bounced back and uh, built more than two companies already? More than two companies already. Is there anybody like that on the group? So I'm literally asking if there's anybody on the group which has gone, completely down and then back up again. Okay. I don't see any hand going back up again. And Rahul, this does not apply to you. So Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you today our speaker for the afternoon, Rahul Chaudhary, the Managing Director and CEO of Qualacia Software Private Limited. He is also the founder of two other companies, ZenSoft Services Private Limited and InstaZen Solutions Private Limited. So like Satyam said, Rahul currently sits at the intersection of leading both a services-based company and a product-based company. So thank you, Rahul, for joining us today. And I know you've really faced a number of challenges in your journey, and I'm a big fan of the tremendous passion and dedication that you have shown towards your business, and in turn creating numerous employment opportunities as a result. And I thought it would be apt, to have a chat with you today, along with everyone else, because these are this pressure and stress, and everybody out there needs uh, somebody to look up to as a role model, or to look up to other people who have created successes and come out of this, which will be like a around. And I chose you on this panel, so thank you again for being here with us. I'm going to pick the way I'll drive this is I'll keep picking a few challenges and risk to discuss, so we don't have a lot of time to go through every single one of them. But I know that there are some of them which are very, very defining ones, and these are the ones that create a person who they are, or uh, you know completely change the trajectory of the business. And you've literally gone through that. So let me get started by asking you, Rahul, a little background about your company and what exactly you do, and then we can take it from there.
Sure, Tapish. First of all, thank you so much, Tapish, and thank you so much to Action Coach for this opportunity. So we are a scriptless test automation platform. So we are a product company and help enterprises accelerate their test automation initiatives with fewer skills, fewer efforts, so that they can really achieve the results what they want to. We are in business as a product company for last 9 years now, and we serve close to 140 customers globally. And ZenSoft Qualacia put together, we are a 300 people company based out of Pune.
Could you give us a little background about how your entrepreneur journey actually kick-started, and when did you really move into taking up such a big role for your own self?
So right from my engineering days, I was really very passionate about sales, and I really wanted to do sales as a career in my life. So I got an opportunity in ZenSoft Services. I was an employee in ZenSoft Services in 2000, and we were Rational Software Corporation's partner, and we were selling end-to-end software engineering automation solutions in Pune and Mumbai predominantly. And I was fortunate enough to work with a really talented sales team member of Rational, highly educated, highly passionate, and more than that, had a very clear focus on problem solving. So got that learning at early years of my career, and I grew the ladder pretty fast in the company. I was heading sales for 3 divisions in 2005. But that was not enough to really feel satisfied. And I was like inspired one of the interviews of Bill Gates and Narayan Murthy in 2005, and I decided to become an entrepreneur. And then shared that to the founders of the parent company, who was holding 5-6 subsidiaries, and ZenSoft was one of them. And they in turn proposed that why don't you take over the sales division of Rational and the brand name, and we are okay to let go the company. And they had other divisions which they eventually spurned off because of the strategic investment that they attracted in the core business, that was training. And I was happy to take it over. I was holding a lot of equity in the parent company, and it was just a swap. And with little more money that I had, we actually took over the company in 2006, and this is how the entrepreneurial journey started, Tavish.
Fantastic. Rahul, I'm just getting messages from the audience that possibly our voices are cracking. So I think if everyone's okay, we can just switch off our videos so that we can use more bandwidth for the audio.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just do that. So apologies, audience, you won't be able to see us. So just do with the pictures. I think my picture on the slide is a lot more prettier. I'm no longer that age, but so it is. So Rahul, coming back, I think you mentioned that you took over Zensoft, so it was kind of an inheritance that you got from the company that you were working with, and you deserved it by all means, because you were not a regular employee there. You were a really important person, and they thought it was useful for you to take on the whole responsibility, and you grabbed this responsibility with both your hands. So it's actually, when I look at it, it's the risk of abandon change for this dream and passion that you had to build a company by yourself and become an entrepreneur and not have to work for someone else. There are very few people who would be willing to abandon such a fat paycheck and get into becoming an entrepreneur. Everybody who's an entrepreneur here at some point in time would have been at that cusp and taken that step, but you've also done that completely head on. Can you give me a little more insight into, what actually, when you started the business, what exact kind of products or services were you selling?
So Rational was end-to-end software engineering automation suite, right? From process model to requirements management, to design, to development, and had very known solutions like Rational Roads, Rational ClearCase, and so on. So we started selling that even after we acquired the company. We were like 2 salespeople, 2 tech salespeople, 1 person in finance, and a driver. We were like 6, 7 people along with me. But we were always passionate about test automation as a focus area. And after we acquired, we proposed to a few of our customers who were the existing customers that we are also willing to do the services, and we can really run test automation using Rational products like Rational Functional Tester. Fortunately, we got an opportunity and it kept growing. So I remember we were more than 100 people within a year, and we served real good customers like National Stock Exchange, then a couple of customers like Bank of Kuwait, a couple of product companies in Pune, and took the complete responsibility of automating the testing services business, testing services for the entire QA function of those companies.
So that's really interesting, Rahul. When you started off, you were very small in terms of number of people, and you actually started taking on very big brands, very big customers. And this is something, again, that a lot of entrepreneurs would struggle through. And I'm very, very interested in knowing, how did you go about doing this? How did you go after such big brands?
We've certainly had few of the customers as we were serving them for some time, even before we acquired the company. And few of the new customers, which were actually larger than what we had earlier, were through contacts, were through some email campaigns that we did at that time. But majority of them came through the relationships that we had. And we approached many people to help us connect to their contacts, and then got few customers. I remember we had one very large customer, that is USGS, United States Government Services Division of EDS, which was one of the largest team. And we actually went there to sell Rational products. And even though the Rational sale did not happen, because of our capability, we could actually win the large services contract from them.
So how did you acquire, such tremendous sharp acumen around sales, which got you to be able to pitch to these organizations? How did you, go about making yourself so confident?
I think credit goes to quite a few things, Tabish. First thing, I was always interested doing sales only, so there was natural inclination to learn more, read more, experiment more. That is one. Number two, as a rational partner, we have been consistently coached to do solution selling or building large opportunities through problem solving techniques. So techniques like spin selling or a few others. We had series of trainings. We had a lot of mock-up sessions internally being driven by senior leadership of Rational for large deals. So all these things helped. And as we move on, in fact, first project we got because of relationship, but as we started closing larger and larger deals, I think there was a lot of learnings. Not that it came to us on a platter. There are a lot of back and forth. We had our own learnings out of our own mistakes, but it was a journey. I mean, those 2-3 years were really exciting. And as any startup is very energetic, very lean, always enthusiastic to learn, and it all happened to us when we started our journey.
Yeah, awesome. And what period was this?
It was 2007-8 and till mid of 2008. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, I was saying, what was your team size also at that time?
So we were 110, 120 people by then.
Wow. Okay. So this is a journey of a very short while. You actually ramped up to about over 100 people.
Yes, that's right, Tavish.
Yeah. And, when you say 2007, 2008, that kind of rings a bell. This is the time when there was this huge economic downturn and, a complete global financial crisis that had happened. The economy experienced the largest ever recession with the collapse of the investment bank, Lehman Brothers. Did this kind of impact your business?
Yes, Tavish, of course. We were also not an exception. So I remember those days when every news was a bad news, and I was not ready to really handle any situation. All the people we could attract were acquaintances, close associates, old friends, and 120 people was a large number. We didn't know what to do at all, and probably I was too young to handle that situation as an entrepreneur. In absolutely no time, in next 2 to 3 months, we lost almost all the customers, and that was a tough time. Our revenues came to almost zero, barring a few small engagements, were definitely not enough to manage even infrastructural expenses, and I had literally no money to pay even salaries. So it hit us really bad, Tabish. That was the scariest day I remember today.
So it looks like, just like the crisis that we are in, which is pretty much out of our control. So we are in a medical situation which has created an economic impact. And in those days as well, the crisis that we were in, of course, it was not medical, but driven by certain steps that some companies had taken, that we hit into this particular recession, which lasted for a really long time. So it was kind of out of control, and your business experienced the blow. So you hit rock bottom. Then what happened? I'm like really excited to learn, what did you do? How did you then take the next step? What were you doing day in and day out?
Actually, raising funds. I mean, that was the only thing we were doing. I remember we talking to many small investors. I contacted a few VC companies. Of course, they were not investing at all at that moment. We talked to bankers, but it was all against a fresh mortgage. We didn't have too many properties. I had my own own home, but it was already mortgaged and I had EMIs to pay. But then we talked to everybody. I started talking to my friends, my families. Um, I talked to my friends' parents, and I started raising debt. I remember in those times, we could raise around 3-4 crores to sustain, and I was not willing to let go any person, and I found it really very difficult to execute that decision for till almost end of 2008 or mid of 2009, and we were like holding many of them, in fact almost everybody. uh, and that was really a tough time, Tabish. But yeah, we went all out to friends, family. I remember those were the days. Even we were contemplating that uh, sh- about an idea of product, but we had no funds. So we eventually let our customers, couple of them, acquire small teams, and that gave us little more money. And we were again close to 10 odd people in the company by end of 2009, with literally no business or a zero business that we were doing. But we utilized that time, Tabish, to contemplate on a product idea. So all throughout, we were always passionate about our product. We were always passionate about test automation, and we have been delivering automation on different tools and technologies. So may it be Rational or UFT. Uh, so we build fairly large, complex test automation suites, deliver those to our customers. But we had our own set of challenges. So it could be skills, it could be attracting talent, developers to deliver testing projects, and all those scripting and maintenance challenges. And that was the time we were contemplating to build a product. But those were the tough days. We had no money. But having contemplated, having thought over it, we built certain prototype, and showcased it to few of our large enterprises about the overall idea how test automation can be, and what are the problems that we are solving, what are the gaps that we would breach. And we got a really good response even at the idea level. Then we built a mock-up, showed it to them. They found it really awesome, and they showed the willingness to invest in the product if we get it right. And even though in those days we were so obsessed to build the product, we decided to give a virtual pause to Zensoft, because it was anyways only a date to be served, and we are not doing any decent business. And all senior leaders in the company, we shifted to Coalition and started building the product. I thought we can raise the fund as the situation was easing out. So I contacted many VC firms again, and you name it, right from Sequoia to everybody. Unfortunately, we could not raise any funds. But yeah, we could then, I went aggressively talking to everybody, again to my friends. I talked to within my family also. I made a decision to sell off my house. I talked to my parents because that was also not enough in the journey. I requested my parents if I can mortgage their home. They stay in Dombivli and they have their own house. So they also supported. Then I eventually talked to my elder brother and mortgaged his house also. So everything in the family, friends, wherever I could raise funds. In fact, it was all debt. And I remember in 2010-11, we had total close to 14.8 crore, 15 crore of debt raised from all friends, families, friends, parents, and even their friends.
And while you're saying this, I'm saying this in my head. Thank God you had just one brother. or maybe it was sad that you had just one brother. Maybe you should have had like 5 brothers that you could have reached out to. So I can totally relate, and I'm actually getting goosebumps while you're saying this, Rahul, that you actually had your own house, your parents' house, your brother's house, all mortgaged. Every single friend that was close to you had actually lent you money. Wasn't this really giving you sleepless?
Oh, of course, yes. It was not at all easy, Tabish. But fortunately, all of them supported a lot. Okay, there were no complaints from family, and that was great enough. Friends were really cooperative. I wish everybody in this situation have so many friends so can sail through. At the same time, there were few certain dates which created hell lot of pressure, I can say. So lender used to come to office randomly, and there were a lot of arguments because we could not pay it on time and we didn't have money to pay. But that was the time I remember Kedar Joshi, one of the now founding member, joined the company. And having looked at the situation, Kedar came back to me one day saying that I will handle all this pressure. Okay, you focus on product and you focus on sales. I think that decision, that division of work, gave us the absolute bandwidth that was so badly needed by the company at that point of time. So we divided the pressure, and Kedar took up the entire pressure of all lenders. So all throughout, we have been extremely honest, transparent to everybody. We faced everybody. Not that we could convince them, but at least we could retain the trust that will not run away and will pay the debt. In few situations, when the situation was extremely panic, we had to again raise some debt to pay the earlier debt. I mean, this is how the situation was for those 2-3 years.
And in this particular situation, how did you actually land your first customer for Collatia, which was the product that you had just launched?
So first customer was out of a cold call. I remember we built our version 1, and Ravi and a team could do that really in almost within 2 to 3 quarters. It was, of course, not a full-fledged product, but it was great enough as a first version to be in the market. So it was through a cold call, and through connects, we actually reached out to our first prospect, that is PTC. And of course, we reached out to a few more, but PTC, that is Parametric Technology, looked at the concept. They could really relate to the problems in hand. I remember all those conversations so well. And they wanted the solution to support Selenium, and we were not supporting it at that time. So they gave us 6 months, and of course, some more features. And if they said, if you do it right, we certainly have a customer. So we put all the energy building the product, which can also support Selenium as an open source technology. And we got a first customer. It was a fairly large deal. I remember the deal size was equivalent to around almost 6-7 months of salaries in the company. And that built a lot of confidence, Tabish. I remember that changed everything for us. And in next 2 to 3 months, we got Bombay Stock Exchange, we got Kale Consultants as a customer. And we believed that product has a future, and we'll do everything to make it big. And then we never looked back.
Yeah, and reflecting back on this journey, as as an external person, Rahul, I see you actually shifted from a service based organization to a very complex product based organization. And so services was pretty straightforward. There's very little to explain. Everybody gets it that you're into software testing services, and you were supporting an established brand like Rational, which is an IBM tool. And then you just started building a new product, which the basis, the technology itself that you just described, you said scriptless automation. Nobody had ever heard of this. Didn't you ever get into a situation where people said, what is a scriptless? There's nothing scriptless. We're all used to doing coding, and we're all used to doing automation, which is nothing but coding. We need very high quality software developers to be doing this. So this is all bullshit. Didn't you ever come across people saying that to you?
Yeah, multiple times, Tabish. I remember people did not believe it because it was a paradigm, right? Automation means yet another software development process, and everybody was living in that paradigm. So it was very hard to believe. those who were at least curious to know, they say that it's too good to believe. Uh, so it was not an easy sell. The biggest fight was with the previous investment that the organizations did it to build automation, and it's all programming. So the previous mindset before we launched the product was the most difficult part to break throughout this journey.
Right. And I would have guessed that, because it's not as straightforward. Because so you've been expressing the big names. You said P2C, Bombay Stock Exchange, and Kare Consultants, and so on and so forth. But there seems to have been a hell lot of work. You probably would have contacted many customers, and before some of them actually said yes to you, a number of them would have said no to you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
Yeah.
In the journey, many of them actually engaged us to do even proof of concepts or engaged us doing the evaluation just because they wanted to know more. Not that we did not realize it multiple times, but we wanted to do our best because it was a new product and we had our own learning cycles. So we decided to continue. We decided not to really bother about the intent and let's grab every opportunity coming our way so that we practice more. And it helped us, Tabish. Over the period of time, we got our pitch right. We got our presentations right. And we realized that we need a good sales process. We talked to few, learned few things. And I think driving that entire 9-year process towards closure in a software product company is a most critical skill to build by the organization, not by only 1 or 2 people. And in next 2 to 3 years, I think we started getting that right, and that helped us a lot. I remember we rebuilt our website in 2013, and we even started getting a lot of web leads from US, and that was really exciting. We did not have funds to travel. I remember first 20 customers from US. We did not even see them for next couple of years. We have been selling through phone, WebEx, and driving POCs from India. And there are really good customers. We got it from web leads. So said Deloitte, Pitney Bowes, Cisco, and quite a few. And I remember 2014 onwards, the business actually started growing.
Yeah, and I can clearly see through what you're saying, that you've actually turned all of the difficulties and challenges into a positive straight away. So everybody, when they said no to you, it was like practice for you. And then you've become harder and harder, and you've become better and better, and now you can go literally hammer and tong with customers. Of course, sales is not so much about bravery. It's not about being macho and going out and making a sale with all the extrovert selling and trying to conquer a client. But has to be so much about problem solving. It has to be so much about understanding the customer and giving them exactly what they need, being able to run the sales method, or the entire sales call in a process oriented manner, and then get it to closure. And it's not just about a one time heroic deed. It's how you have made it into a repeatable thing. And of course it comes from having such deep experience that you built during the most difficult times. So hats off, Rahul. I'm so glad I'm having this discussion for you with you. It is so inspiring, and I'm actually getting a number of people on the chat who are um, you know writing up that they're really, really happy that they're attending this session. And I can see that the highest number of people are attending this particular section of ours. I'm also already getting questions, but ladies and gentlemen, if you can just hang on for a couple of more minutes and I'll come back to you with questions while I just finish off. So my intent is to also look at the other risks that you've been facing with this, Rahul. So while I'm saying all the kudos and I can see the passion and the hard work that you've put in, what does this really mean to your work-life balance? How are you going about that, and can you give me some insight on it?
It's a difficult question, Tabish. So the common definition of work-life balance, I don't think so it exists in entrepreneurship. I did not have it. Okay, I could give very little time to family, to my wife, to my daughter, for that matter, even to my parents. But yeah, all throughout they were extremely supportive. So I remember I used to avoid coming home early because there was too much pressure. And I was afraid that if I go home early on time, they will look at my face and ask a lot of questions. So I used to avoid coming home many times on time, come late so that I find them sleeping. But it is not easy. At least I can talk for myself. You cannot have a balance unless you are completely on one side. Things don't move. At least in entrepreneurship, that's my experience so far, Tabish. I don't remember my daughter Bella growing up. So yeah, I missed all those years. But this is all possible when you get a lot of support from home. And all throughout, my wife has been really very, very supportive.
Yes, of course. And I've met Rashmi, and I know where you're coming from, and I think you'll make such a huge team together, and that's how all of this was possible. And if it has to be teamwork in the office, it has to be teamwork back at home, and only then somebody can achieve the kind of success that you have. And to all of the participants, just so you know, Rahul is pretty much crossing the 10 million mark on $10 million mark on each of the companies, and I think that's phenomenal success to have achieved in such a short period of time, even after going through the so-called drama that he had to go through. And I'm still curious, Rahul, from the rest of the other audience's perspective. So it's all right to getting for you to get one customer at a time and then keep growing, but it's a real hard journey unless and until you start to land those maybe a $1 million single customer, and then big accounts where with deep pockets such that you can sustain and survive, because otherwise doing constant marketing and constant sales is is a hard journey for even the best of salespeople. So can you give me a little story around how did you acquire your first $1 million customer?
Oh, that's a very interesting journey. I remember when Kedar was working on easing out the pressure on my desk, we decided to connect many of our acquaintances, and Kedar started connecting his old contacts while he was working in the US. We have been consistently talking about few contacts, and we used to have these conversations that if at all we get few of these people listen to us and buy into our vision, we will have a large deal. I remember Kedar spending hours creating those presentations with a lot of perseverance for almost 18 months. He kept writing to many of them. And there was a day one of them responded and we grabbed that opportunity. We built our presentations ready. We were prepared. And all these customers that we could win as a part of this journey built a lot of confidence. We fortunately had at least 2 large customers as a reference then. But I think first large $1 million customer need a lot of patience. It needs a lot of efforts. It needs a lot of experiments. And you don't get them to sign $1 million contract at day one. But yeah, I think there is certainly a promise at day one for $1 million contract. And it happens over the period of time. I remember from initial few $1,000s of deal to our first large $1 million contract. We got it from PwC US, was around 1 year's journey then. After we could get them to appreciate what we're doing and the product. So we started executing small projects, got a lot of appreciation from PwC, and built a sharp focus, started understanding them more, started gathering more data, and then enhancing our own pitch, value proposition, or willingness to take up the larger job. And I think that works. So that trust helps, that consistent experience helps. And I must appreciate Kedar here, that consistent efforts, and it may take a couple of years to go there, okay? And that certainly helped us.
Right. So there are a couple of questions coming in, Rahul, and I think I'll move to them because some of them are interesting ones, you know. So they want to know how you're dealing with family now. Are you still, you know, having to work really, really long hours and not to be there for family at all, or have things changed?
Now I think they have changed. Yeah, things are same, because the challenges, there are different set of challenges. When we are passionate about things and when the entire family is aligned to it, the situation changes over the period of time. I remember having a conversation with my wife, and I want to share it with you that one day we were sitting in the evening, it was a weekend, and my wife was asking me, or we were like having a conversation. I think I should start giving more time to Bela. She's growing up and I should start coming early. So I asked Rashmi that, see, we have a choice, okay? We can see many successful entrepreneurs on TV and then clap for them and feel proud, or grab the opportunity when we have. So it was a choice to be made at the family level. And as usual, I got to support again. And yeah, it's so days are not easy. I come late mainly because we have US customers, and there are calls that run till 9:30, and then I start after 9:30. There are 3 companies, many great leaders, and I have my own time slots. So it's not easy. I mean, as far as family life is concerned, I must say now it is balanced because it is all well accepted in the family.
Yeah, but I think, you know, you're such a you know, family oriented person, Rahul, and I've known you for the last 3 years already. Every time that there is a demand from family for attention in some manner, whether it's your parents' illness, whether, you know, Rashmi needs to take some off and, you know, the kid has to be taken care of, you've never shied away from doing that. So I think it's more about, you know, when you say I have to be at work, you're actually saying I give full attention to something that's crying out for my attention. There are times when you need to be at work. So I know your parents went through, you know, the knee surgery. Both parents went through knee surgery simultaneously, and you were there all throughout with them at the hospital and took care of them. And when the office was demanding attention, you're absolutely there. So I kind of call that as work-life balance too. Would you agree with that?
Yes, of course, of course. See, over a bit of time, when even relationships mature, you certainly attend all kinds of urgencies. It need not be medical urgency. It could be just a time. It could be some fun. It could be just going out. Yeah, of course we do that. And these days, daughter is more demanding. And I suddenly spend time on every weekend. I avoid working on weekend. Um, so yeah, I think we can say that is a work-life balance. That is certainly.
Yeah, and just so you know, Rahul, Abhijit Avte, your brother who works along with you in the office, is online, and he says, Bela says hi to you. She is with him at the moment. So they're actually listening on to you, and she's saying hi.
Oh,
So
hi,
thank you,
Bella.
thank you. Hi, Abhijit. Thank you so much for that prompt from your end. Um, so I'll move on, Rahul. I think looking at the current COVID-19 situation, do you think that you are in a different position now? Things have changed, or do you think that you might just land into the same pit that was there earlier?
No, not really, Tabish. I think experience certainly helps because um, so you look at the situation is just yet another situation once you go through it in the past. So it's all about a mental preparation, and I think we are prepared. We as an organization are prepared. All founding members are prepared. Now we are being coached by you, Tabish, and for all the audiences, many of the leaders are being coached for almost a year, and that is helping us. And that is helping us big way to stay calm and stay focused, even this situation. And that is most important part. I think that can help us drive what we need to drive in this situation. We are also taking whatever steps that are required to be taken to optimize cash flows, to have a lot of conversation with employees, and most importantly, have a lot of conversation with our customers. So we're doing everything that is possible. But yeah, all said and done, once we experience similar situation, then rest of all new situations are you'll find it very similar. So yeah, I feel we are prepared because of our past experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rahul. And this was really, really insightful. And I'm so grateful to you for being so open and honest. And, it just flows from the heart. And that's what really inspires me. And I love absolutely working with you. Thank you so much, Rahul, for being here with us. And I'll pass this on to Satyam. Satyam.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much for joining us. It was an inspiring talk, and thank you, Tabish, for bringing this up in the session. Rahul, thank you. As a gratitude, we appreciate that you took out time and you shared your story with us, and I'm sure it has inspired all of us. Thank you very much, and we look forward to having you on other forums as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.